Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Colton Brown, after a long hiatus, we are back at it again.
Yes, we are. And we've got plenty of things in store for our listeners, really over the next few weeks. But on this episode in particular, we've got some good stuff that we're going to be diving into. So I think I posted on our Twitter that you and we took a trip up to Philadelphia. I think we had a nice time. We'll probably touch on it a little bit later in the episode. And it kind of threw our recording schedule all out of whack, basically.
God, we fell behind in some news, man.
Yeah. So as our listeners will discover, kind of as we move forward into this episode, a lot of shit happened while we were not recording. We probably picked about as poor a time as you could to just take like a week and a half, 2 weeks or so off, because holy shit, news just kept flying at us. And a lot of it, we kept up with it in our regular lives, but it's one thing to talk about it amongst ourselves, and it's another thing entirely to try to put it on the record here. But we're going to do what we can. We've tried to organize it in a way that it's not going to bog down this entire episode, because, it's not even that. It was that 3 movies came out this past weekend that caught our interest, which is Hotel Artemis and Hereditary, which are the 2 we're going to be talking about this week. And then next week, we're going to be talking about Ocean's 8, which came out this past weekend, and The Incredibles 2, which also came out. So we're doing a couple double feature episodes in a row. So lots of content that we're catching up on. So I hope all of our listeners enjoy what we have in store for them. So I think that's enough chit chat. Maybe we can get right into things. What do you think?
Absolutely, man.
All right. So, I guess before we get too ahead of ourselves, I did want to make mention of the fact that our Indiana Jones bonus episode is up on Patreon for those of you who haven't had a chance to listen to it yet or aren't supporters on Patreon. Just head to watchreviewrepeat.com and click the premium tab. That'll get you where you need to be, get all the info you need, and you will be golden. And a little bit of announcement in the sense that our friend Cory Engle will be joining us actually a little bit later in this episode to talk some Hereditary with us. So there might be some differences in sound quality and stuff like that when we get there a little bit later. We're recording these in a couple different sessions just to let you in on the little behind the scenes action. But we're going to try to make it seem as seamless as possible. So maybe you wouldn't even notice. Maybe by the time we get there, you'll have forgotten that I already told you about that. But do you have a fun fact lined up for our listeners this week? It's been 2 weeks off, so I know you got to have something, up your sleeve, right?
I've got a little something. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Okay.
So Hereditary is as we're going to be talking about is set just in a person's home essentially for a large portion of the movie, and the entire home, the first, second floor, and there's an attic, and there's some tree houses and stuff at this residence, and all of it was built on a soundstage in Utah. I thought that was pretty interesting. There's some really cool shots that take place in this house, and this cinematography really caught me, as we'll talk about. But the whole house and the tree houses and all of it was built inside a soundstage. So that's a fun fact for Hereditary.
Hollywood, man, they're always pulling off some magical bullshit, aren't they?
Always.
Well, very good. I like you keeping it nice and brief, because that takes us right into our news section, our quote-unquote news section this week is actually going to be literally nothing but movie trailers. Just straight up, one by one, we're going to be talking every trailer that's come out since, I think, June 4th is the first day where the trailer maelstrom was unleashed upon us. So we're going to start with the teaser trailer for a movie called Suspiria, which is actually a reboot/remake of a 1977 Italian horror film by Dario Argento by the same name. I don't think you've seen it because you seemed unfamiliar with it when we watched the trailer. I myself have not seen the original, but I know it's pretty well regarded in the horror circles. But as far as this teaser trailer for this new one that's coming up, what'd you think about that?
I thought it looked very striking. I'm very interested to see this movie. That's That's all I got on that.
All right. Well, that was also nice and brief. I appreciate that. For my 2 cents, yeah, I really liked the way that this trailer was edited. It's got a nice kind of throwback style and feel to it, I thought. It's directed by Luca Guadagnino, who did Call Me By Your Name, which was, I think, in my top 5 of 2017 films. Definitely a very big change of pace to kind of move from that movie to what this one is looking like. But I think that's the only movie I've seen that he's done, and that one obviously just grabbed me. So I'm very, very keen on what he's doing here. So we look forward to Suspiria, November 2nd, 2018, coming out later this year. And ready to get into the next one?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We're just going to have to keep things moving. Next one is for a movie called Widows, directed by Steve McQueen of 12 Years a Slave and Hunger and Shame on his resume. So it looks like it's a collaboration between him and Gone Girl author Gillian Flynn, and story of 4 women that have nothing in common except a debt left behind their dead husband's criminal activities. Strong cast for this one: Viola Davis, Elizabeth Debicki, Michelle Rodriguez. What'd you think about this one?
I thought this one looked pretty neat. I will probably be in on this. I thought it looked interesting. You know, it looks like they pick up where their husbands leave off, and yeah, I don't know. It looks like it could be cool.
Yeah, yeah. This one looks. Yeah, it's one that kind of snuck up on me as far as the trailer. Didn't know anything about this movie basically until the trailer dropped. I don't think I saw the trailer until several days after it had been released. I'd seen it kind of gotten a little bit of buzz online. But Steve McQueen's previous work, I've seen Shame with Michael Fassbender, which is a great movie. It's very NC-17. I think you might have talked a little bit a ways back about an NC-17 movie you'd seen recently. So yeah. I think that's my maybe first NC-17 movie that I've seen, or at least it's one of the select few. It feels like most movies don't really get hit with that sort of rating these days. But yeah, and 12 Years a Slave, also just an astonishing film as well. So definitely a strong directorial presence here. Great cast. And I like the actual plot of this. Looks very interesting. November 16th, 2018. So another November release for this one. Looking forward to that one for sure. And this is going to be tonal whiplash. I tried to lump these as much, I principally organized it by date, but I tried to keep, somewhat like genres with like genres, but occasionally we're going to run into some hard transitions here. So the next one we're going to be talking about is Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2.
I'm going to wreck it!
I'm going to wreck it! Yeah, so it got its second trailer. I think we got a teaser for this maybe a couple months back. I know we talked about it. So we get a little bit more into the world of Wreck-It Ralph here as he breaks the internet or wrecks it as he prefers to call it, I think, which I enjoyed that touch because I don't remember if we talked about it on the podcast. I know we've talked about the movie on the podcast, but I don't remember if we specifically mentioned how the title is a bit of a mouthful, and they at least kind of poked a little bit of fun of that. At the same time, I still think they probably just could have called it Ralph Wrecks the Internet and just called it a day, and it would have been just as well. But at least there's some sort of meta, gag about the whole of it. But how'd you like this one? I know you're a pretty big fan of the first one. So
yeah, I love Wreck-It Ralph. It's going to be awesome. This looks great. Yeah, that's all I got on that. We'll keep it brief.
I think what I can do is if you just want to just do a real clean, canned, it looks great, man. I can just edit that in for every trailer reaction, and then I can just talk to myself. How does that sound? You want to do that?
Well, man, I don't. Some of these.
So that might not be true for some of them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But this one in particular does look outstanding. I'm excited about it.
It looks fun. Yeah, the whole scene with the Disney princesses. Really just
all of it, man.
All of it looks, like I think it's going to be very fun. I mean, it's one of those things where I think it's going to be a Ready Player One type thing. You can get that sense from the trailer, where there's just so much shit going on, a lot of references and stuff like that. But I liked Ready Player One, and I think it works really well to throw someone like Wreck-It Ralph into that. I mean, we got a lot of that in the first one anyway. It was
sure.
obviously video game heavy in that regard, and this one is more just kind of, look, it's Iron Man flying around and Disney princesses and whatever, but cool, I'm about it,
Right.
you know? So, yeah, I think this one looks good. November 21st, damn, 3 November releases in a row. That was not intentional, but it's cool. It sounds like November's looking good so far. All right, so this is what I was talking about, of trying to keep things like with like. We got another animated movie coming out in February 2019. We're going to break that November streak. This one is the Lego Movie 2, the second part, which received an official teaser trailer. This one is, of course, a sequel to the Lego Movie, which came out, I think, like 4 years ago, something like that. I can't believe it's been that long since the first one came out.
Right.
It feels. I mean, I don't know.
Time flies, man.
It does indeed, and this is proof positive of that. I was a massive fan of the first one. I think the first one was directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, talented folks that directed maybe 20% of Solo: A Star Wars Story, but you know, to actually boast about their accomplishments, they did both Jump Street movies, which were fantastic as well. And that duo is not returning for this one. I think it says from like the team that brought you the Lego Movie within the trailer itself, so it's not quite the same crew. But I thought that this one looked, I don't want to say it looked like more of the same, because I feel like that's almost negative, but it looked like, nice continuity,
like
bringing all the
to the
characters
first one.
back. Yeah. I mean, it looks like a sequel.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's repeating the same beats, but it's nice to have the characters back. They've got a bit of a different dynamic now. I liked the Mad Max-esque world and Emmett's incongruity with all of it. It looks like fun. I mean, animated movies for the most part seem to have they seem to know how to make them, and make them hit you right in the feels. And Lego Movie was no exception with that, especially kind of with how it ended. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with this one. Chris Pratt back, Elizabeth Banks back, Will Arnett, Nick Offerman, Alison Brie, like great cast, fun characters, and Legos, man.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Legos?
Looks great.
There you go.
Looks great, man.
There's your canned response. We got it. We got it for the record. All right. Ooh. Okay, so here's where things might get interesting. So we got a teaser trailer for Bumblebee. The spin-off-ish. I think this is technically within the Michael Bay Transformers continuity. Although we'll say it doesn't really look all that connected. So it's obviously about Bumblebee, big robot, but he's taken the form of a beetle this time. He's not a cool Camaro anymore. I think this whole movie takes place in the 80s sometime, so it definitely has a bit more of a retro vibe to it. I gotta say, I was a little disappointed with the lack of the John Cena, or maybe he was just invisible and I just couldn't see him. Maybe I just couldn't see him. Is that what it was? All right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. But hey, let me ask you a question about this. What'd you think about the Bumblebee teaser trailer, man?
It looks great. No, it doesn't look great.
I'm not convinced.
No,
I was not convinced by that.
I don't want to get too hard on it, but it doesn't look very good. And I'll just leave it at that. Doesn't look very good. I probably won't. I actually know I won't catch this in theaters. I have no intention to watch this, if we're being honest. Unless you make me. And then I won't watch it in IMAX like every other time.
I think Christmas is actually really busy this year. I think
Good.
I think there's like 3 or 4 things like currently set to compete with each other on the schedule. And I assume something's going to move. Because otherwise, I mean, it's Christmas time, obviously. Lots of families going to the movies and stuff like that. But it just doesn't make sense to like cannibalize the market like that. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I don't think Bumblebee's going to steal anybody's money.
Might steal mine.
Oh.
If MoviePass is still around. I mean, might steal MoviePass's money if MoviePass is still around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I thought this looked okay. I think that this looks like a nice change of pace from the Bayformers, personally. It definitely, like I said, had the retro vibe, but I honestly thought that it felt less dude bro to me, far less dude bro, less explosions. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be the first Transformers movie to have a female lead in it. Sort of. I mean, I guess like I think 4. Was that Age of Extinction? Marky Mark's got like a daughter, but I think Marky Mark is the main character for 4 and 5, and then
Megan Fox is always my lead. Any movie she's in.
Has Jennifer's Body? She was the lead in that.
Yeah,
I think.
I don't know.
But I like Haley Steinfeld. I think Edge of 17, she was fantastic in, and I like. I don't know. It's one of those things like I didn't really ask for this movie. I don't think anyone did, but it looks interesting enough. I mean, I like that they're going more towards a Generation 1 Transformers feel. Like you see the brief shot of Starscream transforming, and I'm like, that looks cool. Like I'm like that. That's kind of the one shot in this where I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit more intrigued by this now. Parts of it felt a little Shape of Water-esque to me, which I found kind of okay. All right, I'm not really sure exactly what the feel is, that they're going for here.
Talking about the intimacy between the.
Yeah, well, just when she's kind of under Bumblebee as he's transforming, and then there's just a couple of moments and looks and glances throughout, and I'm just like,
what are you going for, man?
Well, I don't even think it's intentional, at least not in that regard. But I think it's just, I don't know. It's just something for me that I was like, I think I'm just reading too much into things. I'm just like, okay. But it's directed by Travis Knight, who did Kubo and the Two Strings, which you and I are big fans of. So I feel like the first Transformers movie without Michael Bay at the director's, well, I was going to call it the director's chair, but you and I both know that Michael Bay does not spend any time in the director's chair.
No, he doesn't, man.
He's on top of tanks. He's using, fucking loudspeakers. This motherfucker is always going at it. So I don't. We got other trailers to talk about. I'm curious about it. I'll leave it at that. So if nothing else, I'll see it and I'll tell you if it's worth a movie pass.
Okay.
if they're still a company at that point in time. Next one is Mortal Engines.
I do like what you did there with the Bumblebee in the car and then the Mortal Engines. It's pretty sneaky.
Yeah, I tried to, you said there's a little bit of logic to the grouping here, but sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. This time it did. Mortal Engines, it's gigantic cities on wheels that fight each other, I think. There was a teaser for this a while back, and I feel like I didn't really get a good sense of it. This one definitely opens it up a bit more, telling you about the world and showing you different things, and it's got Hugo Weaving in it. I know you like Hugo Weaving, so.
Oh yeah, no, he's great.
What about all the other parts of it? The non-Hugo Weaving parts of this?
I'm confused by this movie. I don't know how they. It's supposed to be a trilogy, right?
Like a movie trilogy?
Yeah, isn't it? Or am I wrong?
I mean, I know it's based on a series of books that have multiple entries. I think there's more than 3 books in the book series, to the best of my knowledge. I cannot
or is
possibly...
this a standalone movie? I think what it is they worded it as a saga, I think.
Well, like I said, it's based on a series, but I don't think that I don't think they're counting their chickens just yet.
Okay, well, I hope not, because it doesn't look like they're sitting on a gold mine here.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I like, like the whole concept of it is entirely ridiculous, and I kind of enjoy it from that standpoint of it just being so freaking over the top that I can't help but just, it's another thing I'm just like, I'm curious about this. But the actual story bits, the character bits and all this looks really, really young adult and not in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, very... I don't know. It's weird. This feels like a movie that should have come out 5 years ago when this genre was at its peak. Like, it seems like The Hunger Games, Divergent, yeah,
Twilight.
What there's
Mortal Engines.
Yeah, I think there's another Mortal Instruments. I'm pretty sure that was a thing that came and went bombed, and they're like, yeah, we were supposed to make 10 of these. No, we're good. Just bury it. Maze Runner. I think that one actually got one more recently.
That was one, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This trailer didn't do anything for me. I might poke my head in the door just out of curiosity, but I can say that my expectations based on this are set quite low. Yeah, very nice. Yeah. So moving on to the next one. There's not really much of a transition here. Next one we have is A Star Is Born. It's Bradley Cooper's directorial debut. He is starring in it as the lead alongside Lady Gaga. Did you get a chance to check this trailer here out?
I did.
You did?
I am actually... it looks pretty good.
It does look good.
I skipped... I watched a bunch of trailers all together, and I skipped over this one. I didn't know we were going to talk about it, and then when I saw it was on the script, I watched it. And, yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. I was impressed with Gaga. She looks like she's doing pretty good. The story beats look pretty good. I don't know. I think I'm all in on this one. This one looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, it does look good. It's apparently a remake of a 1937 film that... Actually, it's the third remake of the 1937 film. I'm unfamiliar with any previous adaptations. Looks like the most recent one was 1976, which predates both of us by close to a couple decades. But yeah, it does look good. I like Bradley Cooper a lot. Lady Gaga is an artist for me that I've never really listened to, her work a whole lot, but I'm obviously familiar with her. She's obviously a big kind of pop culture presence, and I know that she's definitely got pipes, and you can tell from watching this trailer that she's definitely got some serious pipes. And apparently Bradley Cooper is singing all his stuff as well, which is cool. So I think this one looks pretty good. When does this come on out? October 5th, 2018. So
there we go.
October.
That's good.
Next one we have is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Sorry.
That title's a bit of a mouthful as well, isn't it? There's only two spiders, but it feels very redundant. Like
Spider's heavy, yeah.
Like I gotta get it. You want to have Spider-Man in the title, so but it's I don't know. It's kind of weird. Spider-Man. Too many spiders. This looks fucking great though.
Spider-Man. I don't know. What is that? X-Men? What is that? What's that theme song? Dragon Ball. That's what it is. It's Dragon Ball Z.
It wasn't. I was not calling out a Dragon Ball theme with the word spiders.
Dragon Ball Z. I'm sorry. I digress. This trailer looks pretty fucking cool.
It does. Yeah, we're losing our minds. There's this trailer overload.
Too many trailers.
Too many trailers on the dance floor. So this one, are they directing it? I think. Let me check something real quick.
Fact check.
It is okay. So this is produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who I talked about did the first Lego movie, and one half of them, Phil Lord, wrote the screenplay for this, but they did not direct it. But they're obviously very heavily involved in this project here, and visually speaking, just incredible looking. But it's also our first cinematic exposure, or at least on-screen exposure, to Miles Morales as the ultimate Spider-Man. And obviously with the Spider-Verse title, and you obviously get a good sense of it from watching the trailer, is that there's going to be multiple iterations of Spider-Man, or, as we see by the end of this trailer, Spider-Woman. And that's going to be, I think, a ton of fun to see all these characters interacting. I'm expecting, at least I'm hoping for more iterations, like just go balls to the wall with it. Spider-Ham, Spider-Man 2099, like
it does look like they are.
Yeah, like I said, we see Gwen at the end, little Spider-Gwen action. That to me suggests that they're going to throw some other kind of iterations of the Spider-Man character in here, and I'm all for it. It's the Peter Parker here is interesting though. He seems kind of just like a hobo Spider-Man in some ways.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's
got money for this mood.
I'm curious if there's going to be multiple Peter Parkers that we see here, where like that's just like he's from another multiverse where. He's just kind of a loser, down on his luck loser his entire life. Maybe we'll get some Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield action. Tom Holland, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. But it's Sony. We don't put anything past Sony, do we?
No.
Although that would be
low.
That would be kind of fun. So they probably won't do that. But this to me,
animation looks spectacular.
Yeah. Again, the style of this is awesome. This to me just feels like Sony, make more of this, less Venom, please. Like, if you want to, play fast and loose with the Spider-Man property, For me, this
Do
is
it.
the way to do it, not take tertiary characters from the Spider-Man universe and rip everything out of them that makes them part of that same universe.
Change the name of the of the material.
Yeah, I don't know. You know,
We won't get into
Yeah,
it.
I would say we didn't get a Venom trailer this week to piss and moan about, so there's that. So let's just keep it on the positive side for this and just say that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, in spite of all the spiders in its title, looks pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
Another one that I think looks pretty fucking great is another animated film, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, third in the franchise. We return to the life of Toothless, little dragon. He's meeting a little lady Toothless in this one, little white. Light Fury is what they're called. So it's a white dragon here. Big fan of the first two in the franchise personally. This one looks beautiful in terms of animation, and definitely story-wise looks like a really great place to pull the story direction into. So
Yeah.
very, very excited to see what happens with this one. What about you?
I agree. Looks good.
Does look good. I don't think I mentioned it. Spider-Man is coming out Christmas, so that's another Christmas one. So that'll get your money before Bumblebee, I'd imagine.
Yeah, no,
And
absolutely.
I think that I'm trying to see if there's a release date for How to Train Your Dragon, March 1st, 2019. So this one's a little bit further down the road. 2019 release for this one. All right, hard transition. Boom. Serenity. Not of the Firefly variety, of the Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway variety. This one, another one, had no idea what this was till the trailer kind of popped up on the YouTubes. Took a look at it.
Damn.
Yeah, this one looks pretty intense. Looks good.
Yeah, I'm all about it. All in.
The reconnaissance continues.
Yeah, mumbling about.
All right.
That's it. Nah, it looks outstanding. It looks very tense. I think you just said that.
It's still true.
It applies. You're not wrong.
Yeah, no, I like McConaughey a lot. I like Anne Hathaway a lot. Jason Clarke is in this. He's pretty good when he's not in shitty movies like Terminator Genesis. So, I mean, he's all right in that, but boy, that movie is shitty. Yeah, looks good. October 19th for this one. So coming up soon as well. The Girl in the Spider's Web, also coming from Sony later this year. November 9th.
I derail you. I'm sorry.
No, I assume that was your response to this trailer.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think I actually made that noise the moment I watched the trailer. Actually, after the trailer, not before the trailer.
Did you see the David Fincher Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
I did not.
Okay. We need to correct the
I
error
watched
of your
that
ways
trailer.
and
That's a cool
see
trailer.
that. That's an amazing trailer. So that one is great. I would say largely due to Fincher's involvement, and also in good part, I would say at least due to Rooney Mara and Daniel Craig's performances, both great in that movie. This movie has none of the above in it. And it's a very weird, interesting place to take this quote unquote franchise. I hesitate to call it a franchise because I'm not even sure if they're intending this to have continuity with that American, with the Fincher version, or how they're handling it. If it's just, it's the same character, it's a James Bond-esque type thing. They're the same character. They're not, I don't think anyone's pretending that all those movies are somehow connected in a singular timeline. But this just looks less interesting across the board. I'm not buying Claire Foy as Lisbeth Salander. I'm not, I don't know.
I'm not buying anything.
I'm not buying much. Yeah, she's dressed up as the Green Arrow for some reason for half the trailer. Not sure what's going on with that.
Kicking bitches out the window.
The only thing, and it's the same thing as Bumblebee, where it's like, okay, the director in this is like, okay, maybe. It's directed by Fede Alvarez, who did the the Evil Dead remake / reboot, which is, yeah. And then I think he did Don't Breathe a couple years ago.
What?
So
that's the same guy?
Yeah, it's the same guy. Yeah, so it's the same guy directing that. So it's like, okay, well, I know he's definitely talented based on his past work, but I don't know. Yeah, the trailer, I guess most of the trailer is really just kind of one scene, but it's just, I don't know. It was, I don't know that I had quite the dramatic reaction myself, but nothing got me enthused about it. Let's put it that way. It does has Love from Blade Runner 2049 in it. That's cool, right?
Yeah, that's real cool.
Yeah.
That actually,
I'm trying.
That might be a redeeming quality. Actually,
I'm trying to sell you on it. You know, I don't know. It's one of those things. I mean, probably almost every trailer we talk about, I'll see eventually. I mean, usually I would say rule of thumb is if we bother to put the trailer on our episode script to talk about it during the episode, it's of there's something noteworthy, whether it's just so bad that we have to talk about it, or it's just like, okay, it's kind of in a genre that appeals us, or there's a director attached that appeals to us, or there's actors involved. I'm like, oh, well,
you didn't put Dark Web on this week of trailers.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can talk about it now if you want. Unfriended Dark Web, is that what it's called? We saw the trailer before something, didn't we? Didn't we watch something? See the trailer before it? Oh, we saw Upgrade. Or at least, yeah, I think you at least made it through the trailers of Upgrade and saw that. we had a pretty fun time watching that Unfriended Dark Web trailer. Unfriended, the movie that everyone was begging for a sequel to. So they got their wishes. So congrats.
Wait, that's based on a sequel? It's a sequel?
Yeah, you didn't see the first Unfriended? It was a fucking cinematic classic, man. It wasn't about the dark web, to be fair. They're really.
I can't believe this is a sequel. That makes it even better. Holy shit!
Yeah, maybe we can do a bonus episode on the first Unfriended.
The Unfriended franchise.
Well, it's cheap horror movies, cost nothing to make. Even if they return, $30 million on a $10 million budget.
Yeah, they're filmed with webcams.
They're making money, So yeah, it's literally just a fucking use a laptop camera. That's your movie. I know how to get this back on track in a good way. We could talk about the next trailer, Bad Times at the El Royale.
Ooh, I have to say, out of all the trailers on this massive trailer list, I might say that this is probably my favorite trailer.
What if I told you I felt exactly the same way?
Holy shit. It's a revelation.
This is a fucking amazing trailer. Great cast. Drew Goddard finally making a fucking movie. This dude is he behind, I guess, probably Guillermo del Toro. He is the master of being attached to projects that never get made. So he did The Cabin in the Woods in 2012. 6 years since The Cabin in the Woods came out. Again, time flies. It's insane. But he was attached to the Daredevil show, dropped out basically before it really started actually getting made. I think he's been attached to like 19 different Marvel properties actually at some point in time. He did write The Martian, or at least adapt The Martian. Couple years back, 3 years back, 2015. So he's been doing things here and there, but like he's just never quite seemed to have turned the corner and own the spotlight. And if this trailer is any indication, this dude needs to be making more shit, because
all the time.
This looks great.
Or at least the marketing team or whoever directed the trailer or made the trailer or edited the trailer, because it's a very well-made trailer.
Yeah, it's a fantastic trailer. Super stylish. Just even like the title card reveal at the end, just the musical cue. It's just so badass.
And the chick fades into the R. I think I think she fades into the R. Yeah, it's just so nice. It's so well-made. We talked about the girl with the dragon tattoo. I saw that trailer. I mean, how old is that movie? Is that going on? God, that's got to be close to a decade old now, right?
Yeah, it's close to it. I don't think it's quite there yet, if I had to say, but maybe...
That trailer left a lasting... I never watched the movie, but I remember the trailer because the trailer was so fucking good. This is a really good trailer.
2011, Dragon Tattoo, so trailer might have even been 2010, Yeah, well, it's close to it, though. I mean, we're coming up on it big time, so...
Yeah, but another really well-made trailer, man. It's almost like an art form making a trailer,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, I digress.
There is an art to crafting a good trailer. I mean, you can make a shitty movie into a good trailer, and you can make an amazing movie into a shitty trailer. You know, there's definitely an art to it, and this one has come close to perfecting the craft, I would argue. And it's got John Hamm in it, so I'm in the bag. It does have John Hamm. I'm in the bag, man. No, it looks good. Jeff Bridges too. Fucking love Jeff Bridges. Greatly looking forward to Bad Times at the El Royale when it comes out on October 5th, 2018. I think that's a second one for October 5th. Busy weekend. We'll have to figure out what we're going to watch. Stay tuned. Halloween, the third movie entitled Halloween, has got an official trailer. Friday, October 19th, 2018. This will release, and it is a direct sequel to the original John Carpenter Halloween, taking place, I guess, basically 40 years later, with Michael Myers regaining his mask and returning to terrorize some teenagers. Jamie Lee Curtis as well, coming back as Laurie Strode.
To kick some ass.
To kick some ass, yeah. She's pumping some shotguns. She ain't going down without a fight. Let's put it that way. I thought this looked pretty good. This
color me surprised.
Yeah,
looks cool.
I am. I mean, horror movies are tough. It's very rare that you get a horror movie that really works. And I guess this is probably more of a slasher. There's probably a delineation between the two. And slasher movies, I think, are even tougher sometimes, just because.
Yeah, there's some really bad slashers. That's for sure.
You know, but yeah, I mean, it's still a very bizarre creative team. Danny McBride, I know, co-wrote the screenplay. Still kind of like, okay, what? David Gordon Green directed it. He's the Pineapple Express guy, Your Highness, the sitter. It's like, what is this guy doing? But I don't know. I mean, to me, it suggests, the decision to basically just ignore most of the Halloween continuity. Says, hey, we had an idea. We came to whoever is behind this. I think Blumhouse is actually the one doing this. Blumhouse
I think so.
Famous for pretty low budget horror movies, and most of them have, worked. I mean, varying degrees of success, to be fair, but seemed like they...
That's the house behind Get Out, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just seemed like they had a very specific idea, came to them with this idea, and they said, fuck yeah, let's do it. And again, if this trailer is any indication, trailers aren't always good indications of content. It works both ways, but based on this, I have to say, looks good.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with it. All right, we're starting to wind down here. Just a few more to go.
Got an hour of trailer news.
Not quite. We'll make it before an hour. The next one is for a movie called First Man, reuniting director Damien Chazelle, who worked on La La Land, with the La La Land star Ryan Gosling, or co-star, I should say. Emma Stone obviously was a very big part of that main cast in La La Land. So they're teaming up here to tell the story of NASA's mission to land a man on the moon. So Mr. Gosling will be portraying Neil Armstrong, pretty widely recognized name, pretty widely recognized person, I would say. And it's an interesting choice for, I think, Damien Chazelle to kind of to make a movie like this. But it looks good. And I know that, to me, Damien Chazelle is a directing wizard. I adored La La Land. I think Whiplash.
He directed Whiplash too?
Yeah, I mean, Whiplash might even be better than La La Land, but they're both really fucking good. So I don't think there's a wrong answer to pick between those two in terms of which you liked better.
Such a good movie. So is La La Land, don't get me wrong.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, they're both really good. I think maybe it probably just depends on where your personal stylings and preferences land, but both damn fine films. Man. And this one looks really strong too, I thought. What'd you think?
Oh, yeah. I'll see it. I'm all in.
He's all in.
Looks good, man.
You heard it here first. Okay, no, all right. So we're getting into a little bit more recent territory. So a lot of these we watched them together. So I had a vague idea of where you kind of stood on a lot of it, but now we're getting to some stuff that we've watched since we've parted ways. And first of which is the Tim Burton live-action adaptation of Dumbo, Disney's Dumbo.
They made a movie about me. They called me Dumbo. No, you call me Dummy.
Do I call you? I call you a big old dum dum.
A big old dum dum. That's
big
it.
old dum dum. That's my name for you. So,
anyways, Dumbo. Okay, I'll go see it. It's a Disney movie. I'll go see Dumbo. A trailer didn't do anything for me though.
Yeah, it's a teaser. I felt like there wasn't a whole lot to go off of with it. I was curious, it's Tim Burton. I'm like, for me, Tim Burton, he kind of elicits a groan for me most of the time these days. And I didn't think this one looked too Tim Burton-y. There's definitely shades of it, don't get me wrong, but it didn't feel as Tim Burton-y as I half expected it to. I mean, I gotta kind of respect the gall of Disney to go out and hire Tim Burton to make a fucking Dumbo film, and to hire Guy Ritchie to make a fucking Aladdin film. Like, I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know what kind of drugs they're taking, but it's an interesting choice if nothing else, and I respect the shit out of it personally. We'll see how the final product turns out, but it's got Danny DeVito in it, Colin Farrell, Eva Green, Michael Keaton. So it's got good cast. Yeah, I mean, it's got a little elephant with oversized ears that can make him fly. So, I mean, it's fucking Dumbo,
Think about
man.
the physics behind that. Holy shit! Flying elephant.
I don't think that it. I don't know. I say, well, not even the physics of it. I'm just curious to see how it'll really look.
Like when they animate it?
Yeah.
Right?
Like, because it's got to look goofy as fuck, right?
Yeah, I mean, he would have to have bat wing ears. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like, I don't know how... I don't know what I'm getting at. I'm sorry. I'm going on a tangent.
That's okay.
Flying elephants just don't make any sense.
They don't, and that's probably why they don't fly in real life, as far as we know. It looks interesting. I mean,
it's definitely going to be a Burton. I guess if you're going to make a live-action movie about a flying elephant, I suppose Burton would be the one to, direct it.
I mean, I don't know that I have like an immediate we should go to that guy to make this movie, but
you could make a Del Toro flying elephant, be all grotesque and shit,
Yeah, I don't know. Someone might fuck the elephant if you let him direct it. So maybe don't do that.
Maybe don't do that. That's wrong.
Moving
forward.
Yes, let's. The latest chapter in the Conjuring universe, The Nun, has an official teaser trailer in theaters September 7th. Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, I think that I haven't seen Annabelle, which was the first spinoff they did of The Conjuring, but I have seen Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2. And I think they're both pretty good. They're not amazing. I think that they're certainly, good step below something like The Witch or maybe It Follows of kind of recent horror movies that are like, fuck yeah. Like, those are really, really well done. And maybe something we'll talk about later. Who's to say? But I think they're still a good step above the Unfriended of the world. Sorry, Unfriended Dark Web. I'm using you as the butt of my joke. But this one looks a little bit more in the Unfriended category, at least from this teaser trailer. I don't think it's not quite that bad, don't get me wrong, but this trailer did not do anything for me. This just seemed like a bad trailer as well. Like, she's just walking around, and then there's just like a nun walking behind her, and
but
then
it's
there's
not
a jump
that
scare.
nun. It's a different nun.
Yeah, and then it's just a jump scare title. I have a question for you. So on YouTube, it says, "Make sure you watch to the end." Did you see that? Did you?
No, I didn't see that. What?
Well, so the Warner Brothers picture, they have this on YouTube, the non-official teaser trailer HD. It's the officially published one, and 3 seconds in, there's just a title that says, "Make sure you watch to the end." I'm
what
like,
was at the end?
It's a 1.5-minute trailer. Who's not watching this to the end? Like, what are you doing with your life?
Was the end the jump scare? Is that what's at the end?
I was just like, oh, maybe there's going to be something after the title, but there's not. It just says, pray for forgiveness, and then I think a date. Yeah, and then it gives you the date. I don't understand. Why am I watching who's not watching this to the end? I'm baffled by this decision, and I took a quick scroll through like the YouTube comments because as I am wont to do, and I'm like, is anyone noticing the fact that Warner Brothers is like, hey dummy, we know you don't have the attention span to stay here for a minute and a half, so make sure you watch to the end. Ooh, you might even see a second nun jumping out because there's no way you're going to catch that if you just watch it without this warning. Dumbasses.
They're worried that the trailer was so bad that you turn it off before the end of the trailer.
Yeah, I was waiting for things to happen, and then when it did happen, I was like, all right, that's a pretty boring jump scare. I'm not going to lie. Not for me, but I might see it anyway. Who's to say? Last trailer, The Grinch, official trailer number 2. What'd you think about this?
I'm still not on par with it. I don't know. I feel like I've been tainted by the Jim Carrey Grinch, I think. There's not many movies. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've had plenty of like superhero reboots of whatever. But I feel like I've been tainted by the nostalgia that the first one gave me. Does that make sense? Like I just don't see it as the Grinch.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. I don't know. It just doesn't seem very Grinchy, does he? I don't know. Like the whole feel of it. Just I don't know. It just feels like a weird hodgepodge of like Dr. Seuss design with. Maybe it just doesn't blend well with that kind of Illumination, Despicable Me style of humor. Like I feel like they're very disparate, and this one's trying to maybe pull more in the direction of that Despicable Me, Minions type humor, and I'm like, that doesn't feel very Grinchy. But I think these guys have worked on Dr. Seuss stuff in the past. But
that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know if it's. I think it might just be me. I really do. This trailer's doing nothing for me either. So it might be just be an us thing. Again, it very well could be good. Because it doesn't look.
In its own right.
It doesn't look bad. It's just I'm not interested in it.
Yeah, the animation looks good.
Yeah, looks fine. Looks totally fine. I don't know.
Part of it also is that like the whole middle segment is just like a shortened version of the teaser, which also did nothing for me. I think this one's better than the teaser by at least giving us a little bit more. But I don't know. It didn't make me laugh. It just didn't really do a whole lot for me, man.
No, me neither.
Well, we'll see what happens. Comes out November 9th.
Let's talk about this movie. These movies, yes. The first of our double feature for this week. I'm trailered out. Yeah, we need to get this going. So the first one we're going to talk about, where it's just going to be the two of us, is Hotel Artemis. We talked about the trailer, I think, when it came out a while back. Very stylish. I was looking forward to this one big time. It's written and directed by Drew Pearce, who was, I think, the co-writer of Iron Man 3, and I guess it looks like he did the story for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, the 5th one. Maybe we'll talk about that soon. Wonder why we'd do that. It's his directorial debut, and it stars, actually, this is a great cast. Jodie Foster is the lead, Sterling K. Brown, Sophie Botella, Jeff motherfucking Goldblum, Brian Tyree Henry, Jenny Slate, Zachary Quinto, Charlie Day, and Dave Bautista. It's set in a riot-torn near-future Los Angeles where a nurse runs a secret members-only emergency room for criminals. And it's a stylish movie, I think. I don't know. It's let me take a step back, and I'll let you do the heavy lifting here. What'd you think about Hotel Artemis? Well, I enjoyed Hotel Artemis. I thought it was a very fun movie. I think it's a shallow movie, but I think it's stylish and fun, and I enjoyed it. Shout out to Sophia for being a total bae and counting in French and shit. Totally dug that. That was cool. She's very cool. Yes. And then she does that, she never mind. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself.
You trying to jump into spoilers?
Yeah.
Come on now. I know it's been a couple weeks since we recorded, but there's a protocol in place, motherfucker.
Yeah, I apologize. L.A. is totally fucked in this movie.
Yes.
And I think it's interesting, the reason why it's in such dire straits. I thought they did a good job with that. It goes places that I think vaguely stupid. I think it does vaguely stupid things. But then again, it's not dictating a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? It's not asking for a whole lot. So you just get kind of like a kind of crazy, slightly funny, action-y, kick-ass movie, and I was okay with it. I checked my brain at the door when I went into it, and happy I did so. I thought that choreography was cool. I thought that it was... I keep going back to stylish. It was very stylish. Style over substance in this movie, I think. And that's okay for some movies, like I said, as long as that's what you set out to do, and I think that's what it did, so... That's my opinion of this movie. What'd you think about it?
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much went there before I had a chance to use that off-used quote style over substance. This is that 100% for me. It's very stylish. I'm not going to dispute that, but I don't know. Even while watching it, I wasn't thrilled with anything, and walking away from it, I was just kind of okay. Yeah, that happened, I guess. And it to me, it seems kind of a shame because I think it has a wonderful cast. I think the cast, generally speaking, is quite good. But it doesn't seem like everyone really had a whole lot to play on. I think it might have been hamstrung in some ways by its budget. I think it was pretty small budget, like 15 mil. And I think it might have been a mistake to let's set it in this huge fucking mega riot where shit is going sideways in a massive way in Los Angeles, and then just pretty much not address that through most of the movie. Obviously it's very contained. I liked the setting of the Hotel Artemis. I liked that a lot. I think when we watched the trailer, we might have talked about it on the podcast, how it very much felt very Continental, John Wick-esque.
Yeah.
But John Wick had a lot of punchy action sequences. I think it was a lot simpler story in this one. I don't know that it was a complicated story by any stretch of the imagination, but
it's stupid.
It just, there was a couple, veering, a couple times in the plot where it veered into some different directions, and I'm like, it's a little contrived. I kind of got a lot of times it was like, let's dive into someone's backstory or get a little bit more, explanation for why they're doing what they're doing and stuff like that. But it felt very much like, how do we get there? Let's just introduce this weird plot thread and not really have it pay off in any sort of way. So I thought that was kind of odd. But I don't know. I wish I wanted to enjoy this more, I will say. But I will say
that's
that
fair.
It was totally fine for me.
Totally fine.
I don't know. I wanted more, I guess, but I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it, I guess, just in terms of overall thoughts. I don't have a whole lot to say. Now I'm the one saying it.
There isn't a lot to say about this movie. It's that kind of movie.
I saw it with a movie pass, and I will say that was a effective use of the movie pass. Not to jump right into the recommendation, but
we can totally jump right into the recommendations, man. I want to get into that spoiler scene. That one spoiler scene was really got me going.
You're itching. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, in terms of recommendation, I would have a hard time recommending, you see it in theaters. I mean, if you have a movie pass, then certainly it's a decent... I mean, it's a 94
Is it worth the gas, though?
It's a 94 minutes runtime, so it's nice and speedy in terms of kind of, getting to the movie. Is it worth the gas? I mean, it depends on how far you're driving, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. If you live an hour away from a theater, probably not. If you live within 20 minutes and you have any sort of affinity for these actors, or if you liked Drew Pearce's previous work, then maybe, that might be a reason to get you to go. But yeah, it's not a theater recommendation for me. I think it's stylish. I think it's well shot. So maybe Blu-ray recommendation might be where I stand on it. I mean, I don't think you need to go out and buy it day one. But it's one that I think that if I saw it for $10, I might pick it up, It's solid enough. What about you? What do you think?
Not to its, maybe to its detriment. I don't know. I'd say it's totally a Netflix movie.
Yeah. It kind of feels like a Netflix movie too, honestly, now to think about it. Like this seems like something that Netflix would let's just drop $20 million on this and just make it a streaming movie. It does have that feel to it, doesn't it?
It does. And I don't, like I said, I maybe Drew Pearce just wrote a kind of shit movie, or maybe that's just kind of, it's just I don't know. I tried not to look too deep into it because it's a very shallow movie, and it tries to do stuff, but it, like you say, it doesn't execute it properly. But I thought the concept was okay, and it's not. I saw it with the Movie Pass, so I mean, I didn't begrudge it because I wasted time watching it. It was totally fine. But yeah, total Netflix movie for me.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, I was pretty much working. I was teetering between Blu-ray and Netflix personally. Like I said, it's one that I think is stylish enough that I would buy it for cheap, but I wouldn't tell you to go out of your way. It's certainly not something I'm going to see in theaters again. Yeah. Let's get into spoilers. You got something to talk about. Full spoilers for Hotel Artemis. What were you going to talk about in spoilers?
I was going to talk about Sophia doing that sexy thing in her red dress, drawing the line. She like hikes up her leg and puts like scalpels in her boot and shit, and then walking around talking in French. That was cool. She's very cool. I've never seen Sophia, I don't think, in anything, but she is on the cool radar, especially after this movie.
Well, I know you've definitely seen her in Kingsman: The Golden Circle, or Kingsman: The Secret Service, rather, the first one. She's Gazelle. She's Blade Legs or whatever.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
And she's been in a few things. I know you saw Tom Cruise in The Mummy, in which she played the Mummy.
No, I never saw that. I saw she was in that. I never saw it.
No, she's been in a few things. Star Trek Beyond. She was the alien Jayla in that. She was like the one that kind of joined the crew at the end, and then she was in Atomic Blonde, which we've definitely covered on this podcast, so I know you've seen her in that.
Oh, she wasn't she? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So no, anyways, she's cool. Good. I liked her in this. Yeah,
I like Dave Bautista in this too.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. I should have talked about it in non-spoilers, but I did mention that I liked the cast. Dave Bautista fucking was awesome in this. I really, really liked Dave Bautista in this movie.
Yeah,
I needed more Dave Bautista. I had a fever, and the only prescription was more Dave Bautista, and I felt like I could have used more Dave Bautista. I don't know. I think I could have used a lot more of everyone in this, and maybe less Jodie Foster. Weirdly enough, because I found everyone except for her really compelling. I don't know. I mean, like Charlie Day felt very Charlie Day in this movie, and it was funny. God, he has a line in this. He says "nice," and she's like, "It's pronounced niece," and he's like, "I was talking about your ass." It's so fucking over the top. I'm like, I like that dialogue. It is incredible.
And that's where you say, I check my brain at the door. I know why I'm here. That
was funny. Jeff Goldblum was severely underutilized in this movie, and that was very sad. I remember like seeing the trailer and thinking like, damn, that person's in this. Damn, that person's in this. And Jeff Goldblum's like, oh hell yeah, I'm in for some Jeff Goldblum, and he's in it for like 2 minutes, and I'm like,
send me down the river, baby.
Yeah,
send me down the river.
He was great in what little he had to do in this movie, but I don't know, it was like 45 minutes, maybe close to an hour before he even came into the movie. That's and he's dead within
quick
5
little
minutes.
Paycheck,
Yeah, you can't argue with that. But I don't know. Sterling K. Brown is basically one of the leads in this. He was great. It's a good cast, but I think where it kind of veers in those weird directions I was talking about is like, so his brother, Brian Tyree Henry's character, he steals the pen, and then that's just kind of a nothing plot thread throughout the movie. Like, they're scared shitless about it. I guess maybe it's meant to be kind of a MacGuffin, and, every time they bring it up to someone, they're like, I don't know what the fuck that is. What are you talking about? Yeah, but like, it didn't really seem to pay off in any sort of way, other than them just kind of losing their shit, which I guess maybe was kind of the point, but I don't know, it felt very weird. And then the cop character, that whole subplot to me was just weird as hell. Like, it just
or Jeff Goldblum killing her son. I thought all that shit was kind of stupid.
Yeah, it was just very left field. Like I think that's what I was saying. Like, I think they had a very, distinct plan of, she's got this backstory where she's got the kid that she thinks OD'd, and that kind of fucks her up personally. And then she's okay with running this, Hotel Artemis, this basically hospital for criminals for 20 years because she's just kind of a broken person. And then, by the end of the movie, she kind of realizes, hey, I can still do good for the good people in this world. But yeah, like that's what I'm saying is that
I don't go to the Hotel Artemis to care about Jodie Foster and her backstory with her OD'd kid. No offense.
Well, and I agree with you. Like that's all well and good. It's all wonderful plot, character motivations, and all that stuff. But it's just very ham-fistedly told with that whole cop character. Jenny Slate super wasted here. As that cop character, and it's just kind of a nothing thing that, like they spend a lot of time on it, and I just think that there's got to be a different way, I think, to really get that story across without it eating up so much of the time and taking away from characters that should have had more time to occupy the screen. So, yeah, that's kind of what I mean by, it's not to discredit Jodie Foster in this. I mean, Jodie Foster is Jodie Foster. We know that she's a known quantity. Cool. She's a great actress, but yeah, she wasn't the most compelling point in this. In fact, she was probably towards the back of the pack in terms of characters that I was intrigued by. I mean, definitely Waikiki, Sterling K. Brown's character, I enjoyed a lot. Jeff Goldblum, as I said, would have definitely appreciated much more of him. Sophie Patella, always a welcomed inclusion to have more of her. And Charlie Day, I mean, I don't know that I needed more of him because I felt like he was in a different movie sometimes for me.
No, it was totally great though.
But I love the shit out of Charlie Day, so I'm very okay with Charlie Day being involved here. And Dave Bautista, like I said, we needed more Dave Bautista. I don't know that I needed more Zachary Quinto. I felt his character was very out there as well, like not. Just I don't know.
What are you always screaming about, you asshole? I don't understand. You're always fucking screaming at everybody.
I don't know. It's a hard movie to peg. I feel like
I laughed my ass off. I probably shouldn't laugh my ass off, but he says, "Dad, I'll always remember what you told me." Jeff says, "That's the kind of shit that's the kind of shit that makes you soft." He fucking turns around and leaves.
That was good. I liked little interactions and moments like that, but I don't know. It was stylish moments of that, stylish kind of setting, but it never, I don't know. Yeah,
that guy jumps on Dave Bautista's back. Come on, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't jump on my back anymore, I'll fuck you up.
It was also kind of weird how it seemed like in the end, like they kind of just didn't resolve every thread. Like Dave Bautista kind of gets swarmed and then isn't he fine at the end or something?
Yeah, he flips the sign to Hotel Artemis.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, but it just seems like they deprived us of like a super badass sequence of Dave Bautista just like going old boy on those motherfuckers in a hallway. Yeah, and then like it's just like, oh, I guess he's probably dead. And then by the end, he's fine. And then even I think right after the title card or something like that, we see like a shadowy figure, kind of sweeping across, which I think is supposed to be Nice. And it's just like, okay, well, where was that whole fight sequence? Like that's to me where it I think I said it felt kind of limited by its budget, and I think that's where that came in. Is I think there's maybe one like well choreographed action sequence in this whole thing, maybe two. Like everything else,
one.
Yeah, I think there's probably one that I can recall where I guess two, because I think there's one at the very beginning ish, and then
which one?
Well, I think isn't there like a little bit of a sequence when they're robbing the bank? And then, they kind of shoot people. Yeah, there's like a shootout at the beginning, I guess.
There's a shootout in the beginning, yeah.
And then there's more of like an actual choreographed like fight sequence, like hand-to-hand combat, like in the Hotel Artemis. And I think there's only really just one of those where it felt like there could have been, like this could have been a much more John Wick type movie. I'm not saying that it needed to be John Wick. Obviously, it wasn't trying to be that. But it felt like we were deprived
Sophia
of certain...
doing the flips and stuff in the hallway was definitely the high point of choreography. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I don't know. I just felt like it needed more to it. And less stupid subplots and less focus on characters that we don't care about. I mean, maybe it's subjective. Maybe people really found themselves attached to Jodie Foster's character. I doubt it.
No.
But it's possible. Yeah, I don't know. Style over substance. That's I think that's what's going on the poster for me. But if you like style, it has style in spades to offer.
This week's full of stylish shit.
It is full of both. Well, I guess on that note, do you have any last minute parting thoughts with Hotel Artemis, or are you ready to move on?
We can move on to the next one.
All right, time for the second of our double feature, and that is Hereditary. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to be joined now by our guest, Cory Engle. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, so really excited to do this show. Glad you guys invited me on. Of course, I'm a huge fan of horror movies, so been looking forward to this one for a while. Definitely excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty much trying to make this happen for the last week or so. So it's nice to have everyone on the microphone here together to talk about Hereditary, because I think there's going to be a lot to talk about.
Oh, there certainly is. Absolutely. I'm hoping I can bring my my experience as a film teacher to bear on this conversation. Offer some critical insight, perhaps.
I hope so. I would say that you're the first film teacher that we've ever had on the podcast, so that's pretty exciting.
It's fucking cool, man. That's cool.
It's pretty cool. So you guys want to get into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, there we go. Hereditary, written and directed by Ari Aster. It stars Toni Collette, Gabriel Byrne, Alex Wolff, and Millie Shapiro. And after the family matriarch passes away, a grieving family is haunted by tragic occurrences and begin to unravel dark secrets. It's Hereditary in a nutshell. I feel like that's selling a little bit short personally, but we'll get into it. So just to start this off, we're going to talk non-spoilers for Hereditary, and I think we all agreed kind of before we started recording that the bulk of the conversation for this movie is going to be contained within our spoiler section. So hold tight for that. But just general thoughts. Who wants to start here?
Guess I'll start us off. I definitely loved this movie. I'm a big horror fan in general, especially a fan of horror movies that can kind of elevate the genre. A lot of horror movies come out, I feel like they're, reliant on jump scares, or there's not too much story there. I feel like this movie definitely lived up to all the hype. It was hyped up quite a lot, so I was afraid maybe it would be kind of ruined for me, but no, I definitely, I loved it. I thought it was great. Definitely scary, which is obviously a prerequisite, but can't take that for granted all the time, because some of these horror movies that come out aren't really very scary, but this one was pretty chilling, but also very artfully done. Yeah, I really liked it. Thought it was solid.
I really, really enjoyed this one. I mean, I guess it's kind of an odd thing to say about a horror movie to I guess, enjoy it, but yeah, I mean, the tension was off the charts. And the performances in this were just insane. I got to say, probably some of the best performances across the board, too, in a horror movie that I've seen really in recent memory. So this is A24, I think, is a production company behind this. I think they did the The Witch, which was, I think, another horror film recently that I think was just absolutely killer. And I agree that horror in general it's a tough genre to crack. I think that, as you mentioned, over-reliance upon jump scares and just the same kind of things. Like, they always tend to hit the same kind of beats, and I felt like this one didn't really do that. I mean, pretty much I would say for maybe 75% of its runtime, it is kind of an Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby-esque slow burn. And I think that did such a great job of making that tension so palpable, so that when it does kind of reach its inevitable payoff, say the third act, shit just goes crazy, and I think it makes it worth that investment of time and patience. And this one definitely hit the mark for me. Andrew?
Oh man, it was a you can cut the tension with a knife. It's I haven't seen a movie this tense in a long time. I can't think of anything that comes to mind really. It does so much with so little throughout the entire movie. It isn't really until the second half of the movie, I think, that things get really out there. And the whole first portion of the movie, I think, is just it's just unsettling, and it's super tense. It creates a keep going back to tense, but it creates a tense atmosphere, man.
I think I used the word several times myself. So.
I don't think there's any other way to put it. It's it's a strong movie. I think the cinematography in it is awesome. I know my fun fact of the week was that the whole thing was shot. They constructed the house inside that sound stage in Utah, and it takes advantage of a lot of really cool things, like the main character builds miniatures and stuff, and I think it does a good job of almost transitioning the feel of a miniature and then like bringing it into a realized shot, where people are walking around and stuff. I think it does a really good job of that. And at the same time, I think that adds to the tension in each of the shots. I don't know, man. It's a really well-made movie. That's all I got. It's really super tense. I don't know if, there were moments in the movie where I jumped, like things completely caught me off guard. Most of the movie was me biting the fuck out of my nails and just covering my mouth. Like like, when's this gonna stop? You know what I mean? When will things ease up? And they never ease up. And then eventually things just get really, really wonky and crazy. But yeah, super awesome movie, man. I'm really, really happy this came out. Like Cory said, horror is such a finicky genre, and so many things fly for horror films. But when something elevates the genre and it turns it into an artistic film, and it's not just like something I talk about all the time, is something like a teenage scary movie. But this is definitely not that. I do think that it's not something everybody will enjoy. I think that some people will take it as just a slow, kind of boring movie that has some unsettling stuff in it. So I don't think that everybody would enjoy this film. But I don't think that that's a detriment to the movie. I think it's a really well-made movie. So that's my opinion of it.
Yeah. To that note, of it being something not for everyone, I think the cinema score is definitely proof positive of that. I think, I'm looking at it now, got a D+ on an A+ to F scale, which is, I think opening weekend, they basically pull some, like a grab bag of 100 audience members and like, hey, what'd you think about this, rated on this, scale? And that definitely suggests that it's not going to be for general audiences, I would say, I guess, in a general sense. But then, you look at its Rotten Tomatoes score and it's rocking like a 91% score right now, 8.3 average rating. So certainly it seems like we fall in the camp that the critics have here. I don't think it's as polarizing as something like Mother was last year, though. I think you guys are both big Aronofsky fans, so I think all three of us enjoyed Mother as a point of fact, but I think that this one's much more approachable than Mother was, as an example.
Yeah, I heard some response to this movie online. A lot of people were saying that it was maybe too opaque or too confusing. They didn't like the ending. They didn't get it. I didn't feel that way. Certainly not the way I felt with Mother, which was, just a nightmare. I loved Mother, but it was like I had to really think about that one. That was a head scratcher. I thought it was actually wrapped up pretty nicely at the end of this. We'll get into spoiler talk later, but I didn't think it was too hard to wrap my head around. But I can see why the cinema score would be what it is. I don't think it's not like an It type movie that has more broad appeal. Right.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. And it does go to some very dark places. It's horror. Obviously that's generally speaking par for the course. But I think that this one definitely goes some places that at least I didn't expect it to, and I'd imagine most general audiences aren't really expecting the kind of directions that this one goes. Certainly based on the marketing, anyway. So that's actually something I wanted to ask you guys about. Was your audience experiences when you watched it? So Cory, I know you went with your brother Kevin up in Philadelphia when we were all up there. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Andrew and I were there. We unfortunately did not accompany you. It was a very late showing, basically the night before we flew out very early the next morning, which we barely made our flight as a side note, but we made it, so it's fine. But was it a packed showing for you? That was opening weekend. I think late Saturday night. I mean, that's prime time, I would think, for horror. So I'm curious about your audience experience with this.
Yeah, it was pretty packed. It wasn't a full theater, but definitely a lot of people there. It was a good audience. A very, I kind of like a vocal audience sometimes when I'm seeing a horror movie. A lot of, audible gasps. I think I read a critic online who wrapped it up pretty well. He said that he heard a sound in his screening that he'd never heard before, and he described it as woman audibly shivers. I think that there was a lot of audible shivering going on. And the audience was really into it. It was great. And I saw it again yesterday, actually, in a quite smaller crowd. But yeah, it holds up on a second viewing. I think it's actually worth a second viewing because you get to pick up on a lot of the stuff that you might have missed the first time around. It's pretty intricately made. I think there's a lot of little details there that are worth picking up on the second time.
Yeah, I believe that. I've done some deep dives into the Reddit discussion thread, and there's a lot of details and stuff, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. There's a lot of stuff that I kind of, someone points it out, and I was like, yeah, well, in retrospect, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So, yeah, I would definitely be keen to see this a second time at some point. Andrew, when did you end up seeing this?
I saw this on a Monday. Saw it on the Monday when we got back. And it was a pretty fun audience. There was some commentary in there that was pretty humorous, I thought. And it wasn't packed by any stretch of the imagination. It was pretty empty. I think there were probably, it was me and a friend and probably, I don't know, 16 other people or something. Like it was a pretty empty theater. So you could hear pretty much everybody's reaction to what was going on. And it was when something happened, you could hear everything, and it was really fun. I enjoyed it because when it was quiet. It wasn't, you couldn't hear everything everybody was saying. It didn't detract me from the experience. But at the same time, it was it was funny to hear the way people reacted to some stuff, because there's some fucked up stuff in this movie. Just really unsettling shit.
Yeah.
So
unsettling. Yeah. That's a good word for it. We talked about tension. Let's use unsettling about 50 more times, because that is the most apt description for most of this movie, really. I mean, even really from the first frame, you talked about kind of the transitioning between the miniatures and actual people, and you kind of get that pretty much right off the bat. And yeah, just immediately, it's just like, oh, something's not right here. You just have that uneasy, tense feeling. So, yeah, I think I saw it. If you saw it Monday, I saw it the day after that, which by my count would be a Tuesday. So I saw it on a Tuesday. I think I went to it was like a 2:00 showing. So it's kind of a weird time to see a horror movie, is like a Tuesday afternoon. I went to the theater down the road, the little indie theater. So there's maybe like 10, 15 people in there maybe. So it was a very respectful audience, which I was appreciative of. Pretty quiet, but I was sucked into it. I was definitely well into it from the first frame. I've heard some horror stories on the Twitter sphere about some dickheads in the audience just making the clucking noise throughout their theater experience, which sounds awful. So that's unfortunate, but it sounds like we all had pretty good viewing experiences. So I was curious to see if we ran into any issues on that front.
The person I went to see the movie with, and it's funny because I think earlier when we were covering the trailers, I think I made the pooter noise.
Yes, I might have done it a couple times.
Yeah, and the way she in the middle of the movie, she whispered over to me. She gets in my ear and she goes, "This movie wouldn't be so scary if instead of that knocking noise or whatever, that clicking noise, she made the noise." Yeah, no, that'd be pretty funny. I feel like somebody would do a satire of this movie, but instead of the noise or whatever she makes, she makes that fucking raspberry noise.
Yeah, it might be a YouTube video in the works, perhaps.
Yeah. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah.
So about people making noises, she make a pooter noise.
Yeah. Well, it's relevant to the conversation.
Let me ask you guys something.
Yeah.
If I
absolutely.
Can.
Please.
A big horror fan. I was thinking about this. I really like this movie. I think it's, to be honest with you, probably my favorite of the year so far. I mean, there's a couple I haven't seen. I haven't seen First Reformed. I actually haven't seen Isle of Dogs either. But I really like this movie, and I really like I said, really elevated horror. How do you guys think this movie ranks among, like, let's say, horror movies of the past 10 to 20 years? Let's say of this millennium. I mean, we got like the big ones, like I can think of, are like The Witch, or The Babadook was really good. I don't know. Do you guys feel like this is one of the upper echelon horror movies to come out recently, or?
I would say yes. I'm trying to rack my brain for things that have come out. The Witch I mentioned, you mentioned just now, definitely I would say up there as well. I liked It Follows a lot. I thought The Babadook was fine. It didn't blow my socks off by any stretch of the imagination. What else has come out that's kind of been really noteworthy? Because it's just such a hard genre, and
So I have a list here.
Okay.
So
all
right. So this is going to start off with a weird one because they're not at all in the same ballpark. But Get Out, of course.
Oh yeah, that's an obvious one. I think that was like my third favorite film of last year.
But not even the same movie. Like
no,
barely the same genre.
Right? Yeah, opinion. That's fair. Yeah, I agree with that.
It.
That's a good one. I think this is better, but that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. It Follows, you said. I guess you can probably rank Mother as horror, but A Quiet Place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think this is I don't know. This is much more.
This is
much more horror-esque.
This is much more traditional horror. I would say than something like A Quiet Place. Kind of has a few elements in there, of which one is horror for sure. But yeah, I mean, I would still classify A Quiet Place. I would still classify Get Out as horror. Even Mother, to a certain extent,
I would
definitely
say that
fall into that genre. But
I mean, if you put the two together, though, I think that this is probably a more intricately developed horror film. I think that the cinematography is better. I think there's a lot of care to attention in this movie.
Well, I think that it's much more of a throwback-esque horror. I think that this is a different style than what we usually get. And I think The Witch kind of qualifies the same one, where it's very much a slow burn, and then everything just builds to a head, and then, like I said, from that point on, all bets are off. So I think that maybe that's where I would kind of differentiate something like this with maybe some of the other movies we've just mentioned. I don't know.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Absolutely. It's hard to compare to like something like Get Out, which was just genre bending and social satire. Yeah, which this is definitely not. It's just pedal to the metal, just full-blown, chill you to the bone horror. Very standard. But really good. Really good.
But really good. Indeed. Was there any other movies on that list?
Insidious, Cabin in the Woods. I've never actually seen Cabin in the Woods, but I know that's...
Oh, for real?
Yeah, no, haven't seen it. Yeah.
That's a great one. But again, another one that, not exactly a traditional horror film.
Yeah, and then the only other one I had was from last year, Raw. It was like the French cannibalism movie.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I have not actually seen it. So.
Yeah, that was a great one.
That's on Netflix, isn't it?
Maybe.
Yeah, it is. I think I just rewatched it the other day. Yeah.
All right. So I think it's probably a good point to just... we've all pretty much stated on the record that we definitely like this movie.
To be clear, not to cut you off, but to be clear, we are all wrong. Get Out is the #1 horror movie of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes. Just to make that clear. And Babadook is number 10. So
The Babadook was good.
The Babadook was a good movie. It was a good movie. I'm with Cole. I think we saw that, didn't we? Didn't we see that together?
Yeah. I think we watched it kind of after the fact. Yeah,
it was good.
I think it's a good step above most of what you usually get. Your standard fare horror movies, and I think that this one is just clear head and shoulders above something like The Babadook. But that's opinions are what they are. So,
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, we can move on. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're very fine. So I was just gonna take this into our recommendation. Like I said, we all liked this. I think maybe we all loved it. But how does that translate in terms of our recommendations? So, Cory, to refresh your memory, we have 4 tiers for our recommendations. So, top one is going to be go see it in theaters. Second one will be catch it on Blu-ray. Third one will be wait for Netflix or streaming. And then the fourth one is wait for someone to pay you to watch this movie. So I think we can safely eliminate the bottom one. I would say at least the bottom 2 as far as our recommendations are going. I think this is 100% worth a theater viewing personally. Especially,
absolutely.
Especially if you can, get that, prime audience where they're not just being annoying, making clucking sounds throughout the whole thing. It needs that. It needs that experience. It needs the full sound. It needs the full screen. It needs all of it to really kind of have as much impact. I mean, I think it would work on a TV. Don't get me wrong, but I think that you need to. I think if you just kind of block yourself off from everything, don't have your phone in front of you, just get enveloped in this movie, and it is going to hit even harder than maybe it would in a different viewing setting. So that's where I stand. How about you guys?
Yeah, I would say definitely see this in theaters. See it while you can, because I mean, a lot of, and we can talk about spoilers in just a minute, but a lot of the horror really relies on having really high quality visuals, really high quality projection. Just the way the lighting is in some of the shots, I don't think it would have the same effect on a smaller screen or one that wasn't as high quality. And the sound mixing too. See it somewhere with a really good, sound quality, because a lot of the horror elements kind of rely on that as well. I would definitely say see it in theaters, unless you're somebody, maybe, I don't know, if you like horror, then go see it. I guess I can see some people not enjoying it if it's not what they're expecting. But if you're a horror fan of any kind, definitely a theater experience for sure.
I would agree 100% with Cory. This movie is an experience, and it benefits 100% from a theater viewing. If you can get the best audio available and the biggest visuals, and I mean, don't go see it in some shit theater. You got to go see it in a well flushed out theater. But I'm curious have you seen it twice, Colton, or did you only see it in that 2 theater?
I've only seen it once, yeah.
Okay. Because the audio in that theater definitely is not, I wouldn't say that's the best audio in the world in that theater.
No.
Definitely a go watch it in theaters movie, 100%. Just bear in mind, not everybody's gonna enjoy it as much as we do. Kind of have that. It's an artistic movie. It's like almost like an art house horror film, I guess. But it is really well made. You benefit the tension. The tension really, really draws from a good audio setup, I think. And visually, it's a captivating visual movie. It's shot so well. There's a lot of attention to the color palettes and everything. So but at the same time, those the contrast in the colors and stuff isn't bright and vibrant. So if you're on a subpar projection system, a lot of those details may be lost. So if it's not on the right system, you definitely lose a little bit. But like I said, it's something that you could really, really throw your heart through a loop if you go see it in a really good setup theater. So yeah, it's my opinion. Go watch it. Go to a theater and watch it.
If I can add, you're also going to benefit, I feel like, from the inability to pause the movie in a theater. That's one of the reasons I like seeing movies in theaters, is you get to, you have no option to, pause the movie and go get another beer or whatever. You kind of got to see it as it was intended to be paced. And this is definitely a movie that relies a lot on the rhythm and pacing. Like we said, it ratchets up to 11 come the third act, and you want to be able to see it as the filmmakers intended, for sure.
Agreed. And actually, I wanted to point out, this is Ari Aster's feature directorial debut, first full-length movie. So that's pretty insane, the technicality and really just the artistry on display here from someone that he's worked on short films in his past, but still
quite impressive. I think we need to get into spoilers now. So, full spoilers for Hereditary. All right, where should we start here? There's a lot to really dissect, I would say.
I'm going to kick it off by those naked bastards standing in the corner before he jumped out of the window. I went this whole movie just by chomping my nails and saying, ooh, you know, just kind of just thoroughly unsettled. I mean, don't get me wrong, that the whole, my sister got decapitated in the car and I went home and went to sleep because I was stoned out of my mind. I was blitzed. That was pretty rough. But those naked people standing in the corner there before he jumped to the window in the attic, that I had a physical reaction to that shit. Like my arm and my leg went up, like I was kind of cuddled up on somebody, but I kind of lost all sort of motor function, and I was like, "Whoa!" when that happened. She laughed her ass off at me, but it was a violent reaction when I saw those people standing in the corner just before he jumped out of the window. And that for me was probably the scariest moment. There were more unsettling moments besides that, but that one made me move.
Yeah, I will say the old guy they got, I think he appears at the funeral in the beginning as well. That dude has the creepiest smile / face in general. So kudos to the casting director, because yeah, very very unsettling. So, okay, interesting place to start, Corey.
I want to put my vote in for scariest or most unsettling moment. Well, there's obviously a handful. Obviously, Charlie's head. That's gonna stick with me for a while. I'll be in therapy for a few years, trying to get that image out of my mind, with all the ants and such. I think the mother sawing her own head off in the attic.
That's pretty fucked.
I think that has to be. And that's kind of one of the things I was saying about how artfully done this film is. A lot of it relies on the editing and the sound mixing. Like a lot of this stuff takes place off screen and you just have to hear it happen. So with Charlie's head, you get a close-up of Peter's face in bed and we just hear the mother outside screaming in the yard. And then it does a very abrupt cut, right? And with her sawing off her head, the camera pans away from her and we just hear the sawing kind of speed up and then hear her head drop to the floor. So a lot of it relies on just our imagination by leaving a lot of that stuff off screen. And I thought it was bone chilling for sure.
Yeah, I'm getting some goosebumps just kind of reliving it in my head. There's a lot of moments in this. That's one that I kind of, I haven't seen it in close to a week now. So I was like, oh, damn, I'd kind of started to block that out of my brain. Charlie's head, no, that is definitely permanently ingrained. I think we can all say that definitively. I was trying to think of maybe, since we're on this topic, well, you talked about kind of, I don't think this is what I would pick, but the use of kind of sound. I think there's a moment where Peter goes up into basically the attic space, and then, he hears kind of the banging on it, and, it's like, initially it's okay, she's just banging on it, but then she's fucking smacking her head into it, and it's just like, okay, what is going on right now?
Shit got bonkers, man.
No, okay, all right, so I had it on my mind, and then it slipped for a second. So I think maybe it's like a nightmare dream sequence that Annie has when she goes, I guess maybe it's a recounting of her sleepwalking, basically, when she goes to Peter and Charlie, and basically it just has like the hard cut to them just being covered in paint thinner, just like, because it like subtly starts and like you can see that Peter's hair is just all wet, and it's just like, okay, what the hell's going on here?
He was sweating.
All right, that's what I thought. I'm like, this dude is just like this. I mean, he's having some issues right now, but then, you kind of, pull it back and you kind of see what's actually happening. It's just like, yeah. I don't think that's maybe not the scariest moment, but unsettling. It's very
well done.
To pick another moment that hasn't already been mentioned anyway. Yeah, just really, really effectively done.
Shout out to his fucking cry. That teenage boy cry. He was that poor kid went through a fucking he went through a hard time. I thought it was funny when his mom was dreaming of him and you didn't know if it was real or not, and she wakes him up. It's been a week. I don't know if I'm thinking of it correctly, but she said, "I wish I didn't have you." No, that happened, didn't it?
Yeah,
I wish I didn't have you.
that's-
Why would you kill me? And he started crying. And he went through like all these like passionate cries. And I read somewhere that he went completely method with this acting.
He actually had to get possessed for the movie.
Well, he said that he said that when he started the thing, he became Peter. And it was in the same article that I read about the soundstage. He completely went method with this acting, and he just really tried to embody that character. It's kind of fucked. If you're going to embody anybody, that's a pretty fucked up person to embody.
Yeah, that's a dangerous, precarious situation to be in.
And I also read he did the stunt with him slamming his face on the desk. They put a mat there, but he wanted to experience that, so he smashed his face on the fucking desk.
He is an actor.
Yeah. He wanted to jump out of the window as well. And apparently, they didn't let him do that. I said, no, fuck that. You can't do that. But yeah, that kid did a pretty outstanding job, I thought.
I agree.
He did have some comical moments, though. There were some things he said and some things he did, and the way he portrayed that character that kind of made me laugh. Kind of pulled. I don't know if it was.
He's not going to win the Oscar.
I don't think he's going to win the Oscar, no. But I think he did a pretty solid job.
I tell you who maybe should, I don't know that she will be, but should be in Oscar contention is fucking Toni Collette. She crushed it. I think Corey, you briefly talked about it, when you hear the audio of her discovering the Charlie's body in the back seat, and then it just has that hard cut to her just dry heaving basically on the floor. Holy shit. And just the screams, man, like,
yeah, that's when I knew I was in for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She does a phenomenal job. There's even a slightly long take of her. It's one of the first shots of her being in the therapy session where she's kind of, talking about her family and family history.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really well acted. I think she definitely pulls it off.
Yeah, big time.
Did you guys, what did you guys think about there's two shots I noticed, one of which is more subtle than the other, but it's when Peter's in his room and you just have, I don't know, Charlie, the ghost of Charlie, whatever she is. She's in the background in like the top corner of the ceiling. And it's shot and lit in such a way the first time where you almost can't see her. And it just takes you a minute for your eyes to adjust and see her outline. And then it's like, wow. It's like your soul's being sucked from your body.
It's like it's almost like you're experiencing the sight of him, right? He's sleeping, he wakes up kind of groggy, and it takes him a second to realize something's there. But you almost experience it at the same pacing he does. There's a lot of that in this movie. With the stuff moving across the back, it's not like deliberately a scare jump unless you're really in the zone. Like I think somebody was like crawling on the wall at some point, and once you experience it with the characters in the film, and I think that was it's a very organic way to portray the genre. Often, I don't know. I think that horror movies just kind of prey on jump scares and stuff, building tension and then releasing real quick, and it's cheap. And I don't think anything in this movie is cheap. I think everything is wholeheartedly earned. It's really fucking good. I kind of want to go see it again.
Yeah, talking about it definitely is getting me in the mood to see it again. I don't know how much we've talked about her, but Millie Shapiro as Charlie. I got to say, first of all, bravo. Yeah, there we go. Bravo to the marketing team, because they basically centered around her. So that was a pretty great misdirection when she goes out halfway through the movie. She's obviously present throughout the movie, the character, but it was a great performance for the first half that she's in it. But yeah, basically as soon as that moment happens, it's just like, holy shit, like where's this going?
Yeah, definitely thought she was going to be a main protagonist from the marketing.
And I'm glad that they kind of didn't go that direction, honestly, because I feel like that's more of a that maybe that's something we've seen before. The Omen,
The possessed
something like
child.
that.
Yeah.
Like we that's I think well trodden territory. So maybe to kind of divert your expectations, I think that is a really strong decision, and just the way that they didn't really tip their hand. I think with the marketing was
breaking
was,
news
was
on,
great.
from IMDb. Millie Shapiro was born in Tampa, Florida.
Oh,
So
very nice.
an even more horrifying aspect to this this film, perhaps. Yeah, she did a great job. I thought. Yeah, one of the things I was talking about with my brother, because we saw it together in Philly, is it's the little things like her clucking, which seems kind of silly or even annoying, but it's like making something that's so commonplace, like so horrifying. Like, I swear, if I am in the grocery store and somebody walks by me and clucks their tongue, I'm gonna lose it completely. But it's like, I feel like that's what good horror often does. It leaves you after you leave the theater, you're still kind of scared, even of something that might be considered commonplace that you would have never considered. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. What just popped in my head is kind of basically the ending where it's like a mannequin or something like that, and it basically has her head on it with the crown, and then it has the headless corpses just kind of praying to it or bowing to it. Fuck, man. That whole ending sequence was just insane. And I think Cory, you kind of talked about how this one seemed like it kind of ended in a way that didn't seem. I mean, there's pretty much a 2-minute monologue at the end that basically kind of very much tells you this is what's happening. And I've read online that was not part of the original. They did test screenings, and apparently the monologue might have been added somewhere after. And there's actually, I guess, a scene that they cut at the end where Peter that's now possessed by Payman gouges his own eyes out, which I think they should have left that in, because there's definitely there's imagery that hints towards that. I mean, basically Charlie's drawings through the book after she dies is just he's got nothing but X's, which obviously could just be interpreted now as, well, you need to get Peter out of there. Peter needs to be dead. But I feel like that would have been just another way to just really, punch you in the gut or something like that right at the end of the movie.
In the coffin.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought, the ending was, it was wrapped up really nicely, I thought. I was surprised to find that a lot of people found it too obscure. I think without that last bit of exposition, I would have been probably a little bit confused.
Yeah.
I might have had to think about it a little bit more, but I mean, they basically say, and then of course they do the whole thing where you get a lot of the exposition in the visuals of her flipping through the book.
Right.
Where it's, I thought it was really neatly tied up. What did you guys think of the ending? Because that might have been like a snag that some people might have not liked too much. What do you guys think of that?
Well, I think that it's definitely a clean way of kind of wrapping things up by kind of, wrapping things in a bow. I appreciated that, because I probably, again, also would have been lost had I kind of not been force-fed a little bit at the very end. And I've seen a lot of people, like you mentioned, say like, hey, it's all pretty well set up by the kind of the text in the book. By the time we got to the end, I wasn't thinking about the text in the book, I can tell you that. So it was, I appreciated it. Maybe it's one of those things where if I watched it again, I'd be like, well, this is kind of unnecessary, but at the same time, it definitely was good for me to kind of really put the pieces together for me and say, hey, yeah, this is what's happening. And I didn't think it detracted from it. I thought it was kind of clever, actually. I mean, having it kind of spoon fed to me just kind of was just like a moment, and I liked it.
I think there's a lot of cool things, like the necklace, the charm on the necklace and stuff. There's a lot of little cues that are throughout the thing and throughout the movie. Like they talk about how he needs to be in a male form. Something I didn't pick up on until I read about it was how Charlie was actually never Charlie. We never get to see Charlie. She's entirely the demon.
Right.
I didn't pick up on that, but
I mean, she's eating chocolate bars next to fucking corpses. All right, she's either
she's chopping
psychopath
heads off of birds. Yeah, she's pretty
or
fucked
she's
up.
a demon.
But I didn't have a problem at all with the ending. I thought it was I think it would have been Aronofsky territory without the exposition at the end. And I actually really, really enjoy when they don't put that exposition in there, because then you leave the theater putting the pieces together in your head, you know? And I really enjoy that, but obviously a lot of people don't. That's why Mother and a lot of Aronofsky movies.
That was Mother.
Shit.
Mother had a minute exposition, monologue at the end. Then maybe might have, people might have been a little softer on it, but definitely didn't go in that direction.
But I mean, this had it, and it didn't deter me. I mean, I really enjoyed it. But I think that this movie does a really good job of portraying everything beforehand, and there's a lot of cues and stuff that add to the ending to where it doesn't need to be there. I don't know. I didn't have it's there. It's great. Whether or not it needed to be there, I think that you could pull everything out of the movie as you needed to, in order to come to the same conclusion. But yeah, I mean, the fact that was added in there secondhand, I wouldn't have guessed that. It felt very organic, and earned. But yeah, I don't know, man. I thought it was pretty fucking awesome. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's pretty much it for me. Do you guys have some other thoughts while we're in spoilers?
I've got nothing.
See this movie. Everybody should see this movie. It's a family movie. It's called Hereditary. Bring your mom, bring your grandma, bring your little sister.
Might kill your grandma.
Yeah, excellent film.
I think my takeaway from this movie is don't smoke weed. I think we can.
Yeah, Jesus Christ! If you want to,
fuck your life up.
Yeah, that's what Sessions should fucking put out on the. Your sister's gonna get decapitated by a road sign if you smoke pot. The fucking guy. Anyway, yeah.
He took it in a political direction. I was just making a joke, but yeah. All right, so that is Hereditary. So all three of us were very recently up in Philadelphia for a few days. I figure this is a good time to recount our trips. Andrew and I have been absent from recording episodes, so maybe it's a good time to catch up with our listeners and let them know what we've been up to. So it was a pretty fun trip, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. Went to fucking Philadelphia. I'd never been there before. It was a pretty cool city. Walk 30 miles in 4 days.
That's good for you.
Yeah, I guess it is good for me. That's what they say. And my legs would disagree. But yeah, it was Philadelphia is a really cool city. If you've never been there, go there. Eat a Philly. It's good.
Yes, gems. We can swear by gems. I think we only had one cheesesteak in total. Is that right? I feel like we let ourselves down. I think we kept talking about
only
getting
one
more, but
steak. Yeah, I was keeping count of this. I was keeping sandwich count. One Philly cheesesteak and one chicken cutlet.
Chicken cutlet, yeah. Chicken cutlet was pretty good too. I'm still fully on the cheesesteak train myself.
I'm team cheesesteak for sure.
Yeah.
It was a good time. I've been to the city a couple times, but yeah, I really like Philly. I got to see the Liberty Bell this time.
Yeah,
that
was cool.
I'm basically a U.S. history expert at this point, so feel free to ask me anything.
Film teacher, now you can be a history teacher. You can be very well rounded.
I'm telling you, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a good trip. Plenty of beer was consumed. Far too much food was consumed.
I took my shirt off at one point.
Yeah, well, we went to New Jersey. We took a little excursion to Camden, New Jersey, which...
True story. I came back to work, and there was a young lady. She is a paralegal in New York, and she lives in New Jersey. And she's never been outside of New Jersey. It's where she's always lived. And I was like, hey, I went to New Jersey too. And she goes, oh, where were you at in New Jersey? I said, I went to Camden for a rap concert. And her and her dad, their mouths literally dropped. She goes, I've been in Jersey for 23 years, and I have never been to Camden. You know that's the highest crime capital of the United States, right? And I said, no, I had no idea. And then I told her the story about the cop and everything else.
Remember me?
5 minutes in Camden, somebody's getting tackled by the police. You remember me is what the cop says. Yeah, it was their response to me being in Camden. I told them I had to unbutton my shirt to fit in. It's like at one point I had to double fist the beers and unbutton my entire shirt and walk around almost shirtless in order for me to feel like I fit in. And they laughed about that, but they said, yeah, never go back to Camden. So, yeah.
I won't be rushing back. But Kendrick Lamar concert was pretty good. Yeah, so
definitely fun.
We had fun once we got to the venue.
Well, you know that we're all the old men in the crowd now, apparently, right?
Yeah,
I've never been on that side of a hey mister. Right?
Yeah.
Can you buy us alcohol? Like, you're 15. Go away. I'm a teacher. I have reputation at stake here.
It's true.
Yeah, we got asked multiple times, right? Camden.
Yeah, I got asked once. I think. Yeah. I think we all. Yeah, I mean,
Jersey's wild, dude. Jersey
is wild. It is a madhouse over there.
It's a Jersey thing.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good trip. I had a lot of fun.
I will say, for the highest crime, I don't mean to keep going back to Camden. Camden left a lasting mark on me. The energy. I've been to a handful of concerts. I'm sure both of you have been to many more than I have. But I have to say that had one hell of an energy at that concert. Everybody. I mean, I was not. I fell asleep one time in the grass, and I got woke up by Cory and his brother. Cory's brother, who was very lit at the time, said that I will regret it for the rest of my life if I don't go and join the concert. So I went and joined the concert with a towel around my neck, a shirt unbuttoned, and a thing buttoned around my waist. But that energy at that concert was fucking. People were into it, man. I don't think I've ever been to a concert with so many people into the concert. It was pretty cool. And then we went to that cocktail bar. I couldn't order any drink. Made me feel like a low-life piece. It made me feel like I was from Camden, I guess.
Yeah, that's how they treat Camden folks.
It was the Scrabble bar.
Yeah.
It's called the Scrabble bar, I thought.
Scrabble store, I think, maybe?
It was a literature-based bar. For any of my students who might be listening, I did not consume any alcohol. I was the DD for the night, of course. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what was it called? It was called like the Bookmark or something. Something ridiculous. But all of the drink menus were in like actual books. So it was like Pride and Prejudice. It's like, I don't see any drinks on here, so you gotta flip to the front.
There was a girl there, and I opened up the book, and I look over and I was like, I can't read this. I can't read this book. What do you recommend? And we sat there and talked about drinks, and I ordered a Long Island iced tea, and she goes, no, that's a drink for a bar. We're not at a bar. This is a cocktail. This is a cocktail lounge. It's like, fuck. Can I get a Jack and Coke? And I actually ordered the Jack and Coke with the waiter. I thought that was, a staple, He says, no, we don't have Coke here. It's like, fuck, man. So anyways, I took a shot of Armouth or whatever the fuck it was. I don't even know what the fuck it was. But yeah, so what'd you have? You had what? Sex on the Green Beach or something?
Spanish Romance, man.
The Spanish Romance, yeah.
Oh, we didn't drink. That was me. That was me.
Well, I figured it being a literary bar. I figured when I placed my order, I was like, and my favorite author is Vladimir Nabokov, if that helps. And he was like, no, it doesn't. I'm just a bartender, man. It's just, what do you want? We don't have Jack and we don't have Coke. What do you want?
Oh, man. Classic. Yeah, that was a fun trip. I think we might be due for another one of those at some point.
I'm catching a lift everywhere we go, you bastards. Anyways.
Well, big shout out to Henry, previous guest on this podcast, for letting us crash there in his Philly residence.
Shout out to his fucking theater room.
Yes.
Dude has a theater room in the basement, which also doubles as an excellent sleeping space.
Yeah,
I went there
dimension.
after the Camden. Yeah, I went to the cave after the Camden experience and slept till I think noon or 1. But yes, I feel like if any of our listeners have a basement, immediately convert that to a theater room. It needs to be done. That room serves no other purpose than sleeping or theater room. Or both, yeah.
Yeah, watch a movie and fall asleep in there.
Absolutely. But yeah, shout out to Henry and his theater room.
All right. I think we can move on to anything else we've been up to recently. Obviously, we spent some time in Philadelphia, but it's been a little while since we've been back. Any of you guys have any recommendations or shout outs for movies, shows, anything like that you've been watching recently?
All right, so I'm gonna be a little bit pedestrian here. I gotta maybe lose some of my credentials here, but I just saw for the first time The Departed.
Okay,
I'm sure you've heard of it. We've all heard of it. Okay, yeah. I don't know. I'm so sorry to my younger self for never having seen this movie before. It is peak Scorsese. It is one of the highlights of my recent life. What else did I see? I've seen Before Sunset. I finally saw Before Sunset. I still have to see Midnight. But yeah, seen a few good movies this month. It's been I'm on summer break, so pretty much watching movies nonstop. Did have a 8-hour drive home, so yeah, a lot of good stuff I've been seeing. What about you guys?
Well, I'm caught up on My Hero Academia, which is kicking it's kicking ass. It's a really cool show. If you're into the animes, which I'm not big into the animes, but I'm big into this, and that's cool. I did watch The Red Turtle, I think, which is a Studio Ghibli movie. I think it's called The Red Turtle. And that is an anime movie not meant for everybody. That's another one that's kind of just super artistically done. I think it's very minimal dialogue, but it is a good story. It's a touching story. It's good. Probably my least favorite, though, of all the Ghibli movies that I've seen. Not that it's bad. It's still a really well-made movie, but I don't know. I like his other stuff a little bit better. Or their other stuff better, I should say. I'm caught up on The Expanse. I'm caught up on all my TV shows. I did fall asleep last night during Westworld, so I'll have to rewatch that.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either, so.
But I did. I've been watching some Chopped, man. Chopped is a good television show. Watch The Grand Champions from like season.
Is it on Netflix?
14. It's on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Triple D. Yeah, it's. Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
It's better than that.
You've seen every episode?
I have seen every episode of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
How many
to adopt me?
How many diners, drive-ins, and dives have you been to after watching it on Guy Fieri's program?
You know what? I've been to all the ones in Tampa. Okay. I went to DC, and I'm not going to lie to you. When I go to a new city, the first thing I do is Google where did Guy Fieri eat here. So I think I hit all of them in DC too. Yeah, man, he's my guide. He's my guide. I can't help it. I love it.
I respect that.
Flavor Town.
Andrew, anything else for you?
No, what have you been doing, man?
Well, I wanted to shout out Upgrade. That was a movie that we talked about doing an episode for before we flew out to Philadelphia, but we ended up not having time. / you fell asleep while we were watching the movie. We wouldn't have had time anyway, so it was kind of a moot point at that point. But really great movie. Really, really awesome. Logan Marshall Green is the main character in it. Bootleg Tom Hardy is great. You saw it, Corey?
Yeah, I saw it basically on your recommendation. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I just figured I'd go check it out because one of my friends had recommended it as well, and I was... I honestly thought I was in for some crap in the first 5-10 minutes, and then it got real good real fast. I thought it was extremely well executed.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, I think
solid action sci-fi for sure.
Like $15 million budget, and it definitely looks way better than that. Yeah, I was really, really impressed with it. Which it had gotten pretty good reviews, and the trailer didn't really do anything for me when I saw it. Kind of when it came out, but. Yeah, I was really, really impressed by it. And not to toot our own horn, but we posted a tweet about it, and it was liked by the director of the movie, Lee Wanell. So that was pretty cool.
There you go.
We've hit the big time. It's still only
probably
has,
because of
two
Thor
likes,
4 Valhalla. I'm pretty sure he likes our idea.
Maybe he's been following us since we did hashtag Thor for Valhalla. We got to pick up that campaign. We've been slacking on that front. But Andrew, you and I we rewatched The Last Jedi when we got back, and I liked it even more this time. I loved it. Obviously, at the time it came out, saw it a million times, but it's the first time I've seen it since theaters, and hit me in a big way this time watching it. Of course, your theater setup is quite impeccable as well, so that helps, of course. But really good stuff. I watched The Director and the Jedi. It's like the documentary feature they have on the bonus features, basically kind of Rian Johnson's journey towards writing and making the movie. And it's not as much of a fluff piece as you would think that Disney would kind of put out on their extra features. I mean, there's a lot of content in there about Mark Hamill being very uncertain about the direction for Luke Skywalker and the decisions that they kind of make, and it's really good stuff. Really well made documentary. So recommend that if anyone has The Last Jedi Blu-ray and hasn't gotten around to it. I would recommend you do that. That's really it for me in terms of things I've really been up to lately. I mean, I have watched a couple movies that we're going to talk about on our next episode, but we'll get there momentarily. Anything else for anyone, or shall we wrap this up?
Wrap it up.
I was hearing silence. So, all right. Well, in that case, thank you to our listeners for listening, coming back after our brief hiatus. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed what you heard, spread the word, if you please. And thank you to Cory for joining us on this episode, or part of this episode.
Man, thanks for having me.
I think at some point we'll try to get you on for a full feature. We usually only do, one movie an episode, but just kind of with the way the Philadelphia trip happened, it kind of disrupted our viewing schedule a bit. And then that weekend was Hotel Artemis, Hereditary, and Ocean's 8 all in the same weekend. It's like, fuck, I feel like all of those warrant some sort of coverage, so we will be covering all three of those. Obviously, we've covered 2 out of 3 at this point. So, again, thank you, and we'll have you back at some point
Absolutely.
in the future.
If anybody wants to listen to my shameless plug for my Letterboxd account, you can follow me, Engle_PHS, to see all of my my highly articulate reviews of all the movies I see. You guys still need to get on the Letterboxd train. Right?
I think I have an account, but I am very inconsistent with using it, which just seems like it's such a great thing that's totally right up my alley, but like this is the one project that I can actually keep up with. Like I usually dip my toes in a lot of things, and then after a couple weeks I'm like, hey, I'm good. And I did the same thing with Letterboxd, and then this podcast is kind of the only thing I've been doing regularly. But maybe I'll have to get back into it.
Well, when Cory returns, he's gonna have an opinion about fucking Baraka, dude.
Yeah, he's selling them on the Baraka.
Yeah, I set him forth on the Baraka train, so
all right.
We can have a discussion about that. I've never been able to have a discussion about that movie with anybody, so we'll see. We'll see what he thinks about it.
All right, maybe I'll have to watch it too. You're guilting me into it.
All right, but that's it, man. That's all I got for this week.
All right. Just a couple last minute things then. Support us on Patreon. If you would like to do so, just head to watchreviewrepeat.com, our website, click the premium tab, and follow some simple instructions there. You can get access to our bonus episodes. Most current one that is currently an exclusive for our Patreon supporters is the Indiana Jones franchise, so we greatly encourage you to check that out. And you'll get early access to all of our regular episodes, so that is also a nice plus. You can follow us on Twitter at WRRPod. You can like us on Facebook. You can leave us a review on iTunes, Google Play, however you listen, and that would also be greatly appreciated. Or you can send any questions, comments, suggestions to our Gmail account, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And our next episode is going to be another double feature. So we're going to be covering Ocean's 8, and we're going to be covering Incredibles 2, both of which I've seen, and I think it's going to be a very good episode. So stay tuned for that. But until then, that's it for me.
Later on the Man Jay. Is that how it goes?
I think that might be the closest you've ever gotten. Yeah.
Adios.